Hey guys, just got done watching 1987's The Nightmare on Elm Street 3. Yep, showing the same case again. Hate it. Wish they'd have had separate cases inside. But that's not the point. It stars Heather Langenkamp starring as Nancy Thompson again. Craig Rosenstein as Neil Golden. Patricia Arquette as Kristen Parker. Robert England as the man himself, Freddy Krueger. And you've got Ken Sagos and Lawrence Fishburne is even in this movie. He isn't that big in it, but he's in it. So basically, the film starts off with Patricia Arquette's character Kristen basically making this house, and the mum forces her to go to sleep because you can see her drinking lots of coke and trying to stay up. Why is she trying to stay up? I think we know by now. So she ends up going to sleep and she falls asleep and she wakes up in a dream and behind her is a house boarded up with kids playing outside of it, basically abandoned kind of thing. It turns out to be the house of Nancy and Jesse, if you've watched the other two films. So she goes through the house, she gets shocked and scared, and basically she thinks she's woken up, and she goes into the bathroom, where the taps come alive and grab hold of her wrist and slit her wrist. So she ends up in a mental hospital kind of place, where they kind of keep a lot of eye on you, which they don't seem to do much of in there. I mean, they do, but they don't. So basically, you see her mum arguing with like a nurse, whoever it is, going, "Oh, she's just attention seeking because she won't let them sedate them. Won't let them sedate her." So basically, what happens is Nancy walks in. Oh, Nancy's back, and she goes, and basically, uh, Kristen singing the song "One, Two, Three, Fred is coming for you," and she sings it with him and with her, and she says she knows how she feels and comforts her basically. So then you find out that now that basically Nancy is like a dream therapist woman, and she's going to be working for this mental institution. And with her, I'm guessing, with the doctor Neil Golden. I don't know what he is. To be honest, was he a doctor? Was he a therapist? Whatever. Probably a therapist. So basically, you get introduced to all these characters like Kincaid, Joey, Tarilyn, other people, Philip, Will, so forth. So you get to meet them. They all have their own worries because Freddy's been in their dreams and they keep trying to tell people and people are not understanding, especially the therapists and that. And there's a really good cold death at the beginning, practically, where above this boy's bed he's got these puppets. Like these puppets. Anyone who's seen this movie knows what I'm talking about. If you haven't, you need to. And basically the puppet comes alive and Freddy walks to the bed, rises up, basically he cuts his veins and that open them and his feet, and basically gets his veins as strings and makes them go like that. And he ends up going up to practically the top of the building and throws him off, like he cuts the veins like that, so he goes flying off. There's another boy in it. I think it's Joey who can't talk, and then at some point in the movie he starts going and saves everybody. So basically, through the thing, you got Nancy and Neil getting it on. Basically, trust me, Neil. Trust me, Nancy. What's going on, Nancy? What's going on? And then Neil meets. Oh, what's her name? I think it's Amber Kruger. It doesn't say, but he meets Freddy Krueger. He meets this nun. And she tells him the story of what happened. But basically, one day a young nun, got locked up by accident, and 1,000 men raped her, and they kept using her until years later, where they found she had a child, and that child was Freddy Krueger. And how creepy it was. It was very creepy because the woman was like was dressed in complete white nun outfit, and she's telling him, and she just disappears. And you think to yourself, there's something going on here. Something really bad going on. And he's like gobsmacked by it. Neil was like, oh, and he tries to explain it to people. They don't believe him. You've got Lover's Fishbone who's playing, I think, an orderly in it because he makes sure people are locked up and all this. And oh, what's her name? One of them. There's a girl in it. I can't remember her name, but she wants to be she wants to be an actress, and she says, "Let me watch." And Freddie basically grabs hold of her and shoves her head through the TV and goes, "You're gonna be famous. You know, you're gonna get your TV time." Basically, that was all right. I didn't like that death so much. The best one is the first one, to be honest, the one where the puppets, you know. The CGI in this movie is just like, bloody hell, it's dated. This film is your typical 80's movie. You can really see it because the quality of the Blu-ray isn't that great. I mean, it's bearable and it's better than DVD, but it's not that great. The CGI is very dated, but I love the bit where Freddy Krueger came in the skeletons because it reminded me of Jason and the Argonaut in the skeleton when he was fighting John Saxon. Yep, that's right. John Saxon is in this movie. And when Nancy goes to see him, he's in a bar getting drunk because he misses his wife, and he feels guilty. And Freddy's got to him in his mind, and he's like, "Oh, what did we do to that man? Oh, what did we do? Yeah, cost myself everything." And he goes and helps Neil get the bones. Well, he ends up dead, and then when they're in the final dream state, Nancy and that, this orange light comes down, and you see him, and he goes, "Hi, Nancy." And he goes, "Before I go, I had to apologise." And you're sitting there thinking, this bloke in the film doesn't look like somebody who's very apologetic. He looks like that kind of bloke that wants to say sorry, but won't. Do you know what I'm saying? And sure enough, Nancy's like, "Dad." And I'm like, "Yep, I hope this is Freddy Krueger." And it was Freddy Krueger shoving the knives in her gullet. And there she goes. She got what she deserved. Thank God, because Heather Langenkamp's performance in this movie was nowhere as good as the first ones. She just seemed like she was on neutral through the movie, you know. It just didn't seem the same. Maybe because she's slightly older, 3 years older, I think it is. I don't know. She just didn't seem the same in this movie. It was off, you know. Patricia Arquette's first big role was this movie. And I have to be honest, I thought she was one of the highlights of the movie. She was pretty good, and you can see why she became quite a big star later on in life. Not the biggest by any means, no Johnny Depp, but she was big. Do you know what I'm saying? Robert Englund's fantastic as Freddy Krueger as always. He really brings Freddy Krueger to life and makes him the evil, twisted bastard he's meant to be. And I really like that. I think Robert Englund should have had a lot more films than he's had and a lot more credit for where credit's due. So going back to the story. So finally they get the pills so that they can sleep well, and they all end up going in a dream together. And they want to get to Kirsten because Kirsten's been doped up and put in a room on their own. So they want to get to her. So they all put themselves to sleep so they can turn up in that room. And they all go about whereabouts, basically through a house and that, and you know, I'm guessing through Nancy's old house. And basically, you see the druggy one who was played as Taradin, I'm guessing if I'm right, Taran or whatever her name is. She basically fights him with a knife because she's like a punk rocker kind of dressed up, and he gets these big injections on his fingers and he shoves them in there, which was pretty cool. I liked it because I liked on the right man they had like the suckers for the drugs, you know, wanting them. I like that. I thought that was pretty good. Then you had Will, who, when he was in the dream world, he basically could walk. And in his death scene, basically, there's this big wheelchair with all these weird contraptions on it, going to get him and kill him. Well, he jumps out of the way and gets cut. And he goes, "I'm a magic wizard," and basically he turns into one, basically. And he gets Freddy like, "Ooh," with this green stuff. Very 80s. And Freddy just grabs hold of him and lifts him up and kills him. And I really like that. But, like I said, the graphics and that and the CGI is very 80s. I think this is one of those films where you'll watch it and you'll be like, "Oh, wow, this is very retro 80s kind of thing." Like, because in a lot of horror films you didn't see that much CGI, not real CGI, and in this you do, and I think that's actually quite a benefit to it. Because even though it looks dated, it also makes it very special because it's got actual amazing CGI in it before CGI was awful in movies. You know what I mean? So then you get Kincaid. That's right, Kincaid, who's played by Ken Sagos, and he's awesome. Freddy Pussy! He calls him the Krueger Pussy and all this stuff. Calls Freddy Krueger Pussy and all that. He goes, if you want to dope me up, I'm going to smash your face in. And all this, you know. He was basically your typical teen in the day, basically. I'm guessing he was supposed to be from some sort of area. I don't know where. But it was so special. I'm so glad he didn't die because I kept thinking come on, Kincaid, come on, say some more funny shit. So that's all he did for the whole movie. He said funny shit like, oh no, you're not going to get me because I'm going to kick someone's ass in and all that. And Freddy Pussy and Krueger Pussy and all this. Come on, you Krueger Pussy. So I love that. Lover's Fishbone, like I said, was an orderly. And it was alright, but it wasn't no Boys in the Hood performance, if you know what I mean. This wasn't his standout performance. If you didn't know who he was, you won't really care, to be honest. Because he doesn't bring anything that great to the table. You don't see any potential of being a bigger star or anything because it's just, you know, someone who was in the role. So basically at the end, Nancy dies and Neil Gordon basically buries the bones of Freddy Krueger and gives him a burial, basically, ashes to ashes, dust to dust. And in the dream world, Freddy is getting all these lights shooting through him while he's doing it, and a cross shape on his head, and then he kind of explodes. And at the end, you see Neil and Neil and Kincaid, and I think Joey and Kristen. So I've been watching too many movies. Too many women with K's in their name in these movies. Kristen. And they're sitting at the funeral, and the nun goes by. So Neil goes running after her, and when he goes around the corner, it turns out to be Freddy Krueger's mother, and that's the shocking for the end. And you're like, oh, that's his mother. That was predictable from the beginning, you know. So, and there's a great bit in it that mentions Jesse. Neil says to Nancy that they lost a patient to another mental asylum. And basically it's because he cut his eyelids off so he won't sleep. So he can't fall asleep. And to be honest, it sounded a lot like that would be Jesse because he was having serious problems even after Freddy Krueger. And his eyes look like the type that would get cut, you know. So that worked. Another thing about this movie was I didn't like it as much as I liked the first one. But I think I liked it slightly better than the second one. You know, how often do you get a third movie in a series which is pretty good? I mean, Heather Langenkamp, even though she wasn't as good as she was in number one in this movie, she still did quite well. The highlight of the movie was obviously Patricia Arquette, because in my view, Nancy was like the secondary character to her. And I think maybe going in, people didn't expect that. I don't know because I wasn't even alive back then. 1 year before I was born. So, what are my final thoughts about Nightmare on Elm Street 3: Dream Warriors? It's a pretty decent movie. It's got some good effects. The old classic effects, which I always like over the new CGI ones, even though they look dated and they look quite terrible now, that's still a plus in my view because that was when people were original. The Blu-ray quality was bad, but it wasn't really bad. It's not bad, it's just not a great transfer compared to what number one was. It's had a great cast. It had an awesome, great acting, great credits where credits due, and I really, really enjoyed it. I thought it was really good. I would probably put them in order right now as number 1, 3, and 2 in that order. I thought ones I like. But I will say that I'm hoping for something better in number 4, because the whole hospital thing, you'd think people would have been a little bit more understanding, but they weren't of their problems. They were just like, oh, don't cause trouble. and all this. So yeah, I recommend part 3, especially if you like the Nancy Thompson character and you like John Saxon's character playing her father. I really do like it. It was great to see what happened to her. I was a bit upset that she died in this movie because I would have liked to have probably seen her in another movie, but pop up, you know, because this film kind of reminded me of Final Destination. Ali Larter pops up and helps them in number 2. It's not the same, but it kind of reminded me of that, you know. And then as she dies, so yeah. Uh, Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors. Not a bad film, worth a watch. Have fun, classic 80's fun. Don't take it seriously. Well, don't take any Nightmare on Elm Street film seriously. Enjoy it. Take care. Let me know what you think of the movie in the comment section below. Thanks for watching, guys, and take care.